troublesome, they were in charge of fixing it. This was before the Druids became known as playing nice and not interfering. During a time when they had carte blanche over the area and would use whatever means necessary, there were a total of 8 blades that knew of one another from the original 13 blades of the meteorite lake. However, only 3 were to be allowed to act together at any given time, though eventually they ran into all 13, which was the point it became known as the ribbon. A ribbon would be tied at the top of a tree, and the one who could throw the blade all the way to the top and cut the ribbon would be the owner of the blade. Each time the ribbon was cut, it was moved further up until there were only 3 winners, and these were the ones known as the true bridge, and the rest had to obey them. We continue this now as a form of ritual. The Bridge of Blades is done on the 13th day of Saturday, in which 3 swords or daggers touch upon one another for 24 hours. The ribbon is kind of like marriage, done by females, not males, though it is our design. What they do is tie a ribbon around a tree. They are blindfolded, spun, and they must cut it. If one cuts it, they are granted 1 free wish. If the ribbon wins and they miss, they must perform 1 duty. The female always ties the ribbon, and the male is the one who cuts it, though the wish or the duty must be reasonable. The female can only cut it if she is the druidess. The day of blood, water, and wine. The 3 daggers would here be rendered as the idea of blood, water, and wine in ritual. Make sure the goblet is clean between the rituals. The day of blood requires blood, save for water and wine. They are not to be seen as the same thing. The idea is that the land was soaked in blood, water, or wine, or sometimes all 3 at the same time. What one did was to cut across the palm and spill blood into the goblet as a form of sacrifice for 1 month. For every act of violence against them, they could return with 1 violent act. With water, you could achieve something you desired beyond your reach. What one did was to take from the nearest water source out in the wild, bring it back to the goblet, and sprinkle it 8 or 13 times, depending on how close you are to get what you want. If it was close, it was 8. If it was a distance, it was 13. For day of wine, you would take a series of grapes and squish them between the forefinger and the thumb, and spill the juice into the goblet. The juice is to allow you freedom, and you had 2 choices. Easy was 8 grapes. 13 was if it was difficult, so you could fix a mistake. The ritual of wine is done on the day of the cup. These rituals were designed to set aside men and gods. To the gods, our nature had twisted away from the design of service. These rituals is a form of reward for earlier service. For 1 whole day, either one of these liquids must be retained within the goblet, then cleaned out. The Great Woods and Stones Ritual, 2nd chapter, Ritual Adornment, the Faith of the Shield, and the Soul, the Fountain. When traveling, whenever you come across a water source, you're supposed to take a little and hand it over to a nearby tree, even if it would have reached the tree anyway. What you are doing is telling the forest you are a willing patron, whereby time and space will become your friend. Shade will become your friend, the nature of the forest will become your friend. 3 ways to do it. To prove one was with stone, one would cut their finger and drop blood on a stone. meaning that area would be protected from war for 1 year. Another way to do it is to have a goblet or pouch of wine and rub it onto the stone. If it is standing stones, use 2 fingers on the outer wall of the doorway. This can also be rubbed for the blessing and keeping of someone under the school. Rubbing is basically to place your forefinger and grazing them until they have become coarse. Rub from west to east. It is the same if you added blood or wine. The woods isn't what you're communicating with, but the earth itself through the roots. When dealing with stone, you're dealing with memory, ancient events, blessing or protecting them or trespassing without altercation, meaning the stones will act as your own personal guardians, letting you know when trouble is brewing. Same as with the 3 keystones, do the markings on them. When you remove the stone to no longer use, either put it in a stone garden or rub on it and toss it away. The shield is the anointment of the stones. The soil is when you enter any way, grab a handful of soil and sprinkle a circle and draw the backwards E, sigma, and then wipe it out with your bare feet or shoes, whatever you will walk on the land with. It will allow the land you better locate you, so you will find things faster. To a druid, the standard fountain is the beginning, middle, and end of life. It is said the rich places 2 coins over the eyes. If you wish to honor the land, then throw coins into the water. And it has to be small coins of lesser value, not big coins. The reason is because the Druids believe that if you fill something with valuables, is to turn it into a wasteland of wealth. It was first a Sumerian death ritual. Then it became a thing to honor the land, then honoring the water without overflowing with wealth. Ways of the traveler's water. As you pass different locations with staff and satchel, 1 container will hold water. As you reach each location, entering and leaving, you are to leave a drop of water as a symbol for the next druid to come. Even if the land is removed or no druid ever comes, you do it as a ceremony. It represents an ideal of the future, to seed a new grove, a new understanding. It's also related to biomechanic, even though a druid isn't supposed to study that kind of thing because that learning model wasn't around at the time. It's about the air and pressure, and that which interacts with the environment. When you add a drop, you change its atomic disposition. As we walk, we learn, and as we learn, we gather, and then we gift back with water. Not to add or take away, but for exchange of wisdom for wisdom. Day of Rid. The days are in 3 forms, the lessons of obedience. The day that it is, the day you are working or supporting, and the day of graduation. We use the word obedience because that is the word given to us, in the idea of being loyal. A druid is not held to doing these things. It's only the higher druid who is held. The day of Rid is the day when you go without doing something you favor. It has to be something not of food or drink. It's not about removing habit, but removing the desire of the habit. It lasts for 20 days. The days usually last between 15 to 25 days depending on your journey. Breaking it before it's over doesn't subject you to punishment, but you have to do it all over again at a later time. Day of Sandum is when you have to plant a tree. You can rip it up in one area in splinters, log, flowers, whatever material is needed, You destroy in one location, then give it up in another and build a tree. You cannot give it food or water. It has to choose to live. You are not supposed to know if it makes the choice or not, but simply to perform the deed and then leave, to let it make the choice itself. Day of Malkuth. If you must, within a period of 25 days, look directly into the sun and pull your eyes away, but you can't do it at a time when you think you're going to do it. You aren't allowed to plan it. It's meant to inspire the soul, not harm your eyes. So just a glance. Day of the Wagon. The day when you must support someone who doesn't support you. Whatever means you can provide for another for no reason, you have to do it. And for 25 days, you are that person's yes man. Day of the Whip. It's along the lines of freeing someone from the knowledge they hold, or show them where to find the knowledge they seek, or help someone down another road. They don't have to take it, just see it. Day of the Cup. Take the goblet in front of you and collect water somewhere naturally, and with each one of the daggers, for each one of the days, you tinge the cup for 25 days. Circulate the daggers. Don't use the same one constantly. At the end of that day, you take the water and wash your hands with it. Day of Passing. Druids don't believe in the afterlife or forelife. They believe in the present. But they do believe in the passage between the worlds. We don't go anywhere. We simply remain. Light a white candle and let it burn for 7 hours. If it burns out before then, replace it with another candle. After the 7 hours, snuff it out, wait until the next day, and continue every day for the day of the passing, 15 to 25. If there is any wax buildup of the passing, take it, mix it with some herbs, and throw it in a bonfire. Working being of candle and spiritual. Death, the candle holder, teacher of the unseen will, gatherer of time and space as one. To a druid, our rituals become like day and night, either as we walk through the day or as we skip from day to night. The strength of the ritual is harnessed by the wax of the candle, for the wax will be broken down into little pieces and sprinkled over your footsteps. For it is believed that life is like a candle, and it wears down and then becomes a puddle. For a druid, this means energy, not physical means of being, but the major part of the upgraded view of the spiritual idea of the druid nature is in consort with the Greek and Roman, male and female, understanding of the comedy of death, the being. Castle Mid. The next three are all part of day, middle, and night. To breach what spiritual trust is the beginning of the morning. The wall, the secret teaching of the veil. To a druid, silence is part of the world. Not that they can't speak if they choose to, it's just branded into our way. For silence in itself is thought, and this thought is a kind of prayer. Even though we druids don't have religion, we do have a religious heart, a heart of faith. And as such, we bask in the elements of the morning. For to us, this is not to breach that wall, that veil of outside conduct. We've been accused of being pacifist, but that is not our design. We fight or we don't fight on equal terms. Because we are enemy of no one doesn't mean there is no war, inside or outside our world. We just accept the teachings as law. The mid-sky. What does a bird hope to own with the resting of its wings? What does the sun hope to see when it is surrounded in darkness? This ritual is called the ritual of the bell. Druids by normal means do